But I was also voted most likely to be behind bars in 10 years for my 10th grade yearbook.
Could you have ever have predicted that you would have lasted this long in this music?
No, but I wasn't really thinking that way then. I don't think anybody does. I mean, I don't know what people think. Who knows? I just know my weird brain, but I think I would have probably been voted least likely.
By who?
Most.
Like by in your hometown, or like people in the industry that came, or musicians that came out at the time?
Both, all of the above, all of those boxes. But I was also voted most likely to be behind bars in 10 years for my 10th grade yearbook. Yeah, I don't know. It's been a wild ride, and I'm never not grateful.
Why do you think that of the sort of class that you came out with in 2000, you would have felt like you were the least likely to, or people would have felt like you were the least likely to hang on? Who was in that class in 2000?
Well, the obvious is Brittany and Christina.
Yeah.
But there were so many. Mandy Moore, Vitamin C.
Oh, Vitamin C.
Remember Vitamin C?
As we go on, we remember.
And I can't, I have a really bad memory also.
Sure, but you felt of all of the Britneys and Christinas and Mandy Moores and Jessica Simpsons, you felt like you were.
Well, I would just read articles about myself, and that's what they would always write. So I sort of ingested that, I guess. Yeah, and then people say that still, I think. I read that a lot about me, that no one can believe it's me. But here's the thing, I'm really, 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 really hardworking, and I also have a lot to say.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why. I don't know.
What did you find yourself saying on this record?
Oh my Lord. The beautiful thing about this album is how long I took to make it. And when that happens, you know, as a songwriter, your favorite song is the last one you wrote, because it's new and it's what you wanted to say most recently. But then once you have the songs long enough, some just kind of fall by the wayside. And it's more of editing process, I guess. And this album was curated over 3 years, and a lot happened in all of our lives. Besides the pandemic, I lost my father. I lost one of my dearest friends 8 months later. I'm still parenting young children. I'm a wife of 17 years. I have friendships and relationships and responsibilities. And, my mom is getting older, and so many things happening. And I write about what's happening in my life. I think each album for me is a chapter of where I was right then. I could never write Misunderstood today because I'm not a 17-year-old punk anymore.
Is When I Get There, the first track off the record, is that about your dad?
For me, yeah, but I've lost a lot of people in my life. It could be about any of them. And I wonder where they go. Like my little boy walks around the kitchen island and he goes, "Hey, Grandpa." So that's cool. Because he doesn't know what to say, but I always tell him, like, you can talk to your ancestors and your angels, and they're always listening. And so he's just literally walking around the kitchen talking to Grandpa.
Yeah.
And the idea that he's out there somewhere watching over us is a nice idea.
Like you said, it could be about anybody. It could be about any of the people you've lost and the number of people you lost over the years. But you kind of wrote it about your father. I mean, there's a great line in there. Like, is there a bar in heaven?
I didn't write that song, actually. That song was a gift. David Hodges and Amy Wadge sent me that song after my dad passed away.
Oh.
Yeah. And it just felt like such a balm. I couldn't write that song. I haven't unpacked that suitcase yet.
About your father?
Yeah.
Vietnam War veteran, right?
He was.
I saw a great video of, I think it was you singing a song he had written for you.
Yeah.
Or not written for you, but he had written about his time in the service.
Yep. I actually put that on one of my albums. Yeah, he could finger pick with the best of them. He could play the hell out of a guitar.
Did he have any aspirations to do that professionally?
He did. He always wanted to be a rock star. My brother and I lived out both of his dreams. My dad always wanted to be, my dad was what he called a grunt in the Air Force, just enlisted. And my brother became a lieutenant colonel before he retired. And that was one of my dad's dreams, and to be a rock star. He actually sang in a quartet in the Air Force.
He sang in like a vocal quartet in the Air Force?
Yeah.
So then this guy who has these big dreams of being a rock star, who, you know, writes songs and, you know, lives through something very, very tough, gets to see his daughter live that very rare life. Not many people get to do that at all. He gets to see his daughter live that very, very rare life that he had sort of imagined for himself. That you must feel something from that.
I mean, relationships are complicated. My dad was a very complicated man.
Yeah.
And he had a really hard life. He had a really shit deck of cards dealt to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was just I think relationships are just really complicated. I don't care who you are or how much money you have or where you're from. Relationships are complicated. And, you know, that's kind of, I don't know how else to explain it. I think he was happy for me. I'm sure he was proud of me.
I'm sure he was too. It's a beautiful record. I want to talk about another song on the record. I want to talk about "Never Not Gonna Dance Again," which is the single, I think, which is the lead single off the record. And you wrote that with Max Martin and Shellback. Max Martin, for people who don't know, is one of the greatest sort of like hit makers in history. Yep. He has written big songs for, I guess, Katy Perry. That's another one in your class. Your Katy Perry, Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, and all that. And Pink, sort of guy who lives in his studio over in Sweden, doesn't do any press, doesn't really talk to people very much, is a very mysterious guy. I wonder if you could talk to me a little bit about how that song came about, and just a little bit about your relationship with this guy over the years.
Max and I did not want to work together in the beginning. We were kind of put together just to see what happens by the record company. And when I met him, I brought 3 bottles of wine to the first session. And he goes, "What kind of a song do you want to write?" And I go, "I want to write a song about death." Just to kind of screw with him. And then we wrote "Who Knew?" And first day, and polished off one of those bottles. And he really surprised me because he's actually a closet punk rocker. And his knowledge of music is so vast. And he's such a genius. And he pulls from every genre like I do. And he's funny as hell. He's got the driest, awesomest sense of humor. Very charming. And a good guy. He's like a good guy. And we've worked together over the years. He was there. I flew to Sweden while I was possibly getting a divorce from my husband, and I was it was a really dark time in my life. And you know, we wrote "So What" the first day, and then we wrote "I Don't Believe You," and then we wrote "Please Don't Leave Me," and we've written all of these beautiful songs together that have marked serious moments in my life. So when I'm sitting at home during the pandemic, I thought about all, you know, when your kid gets sick or you lose a parent, those are times when life really gets distilled down into what matters. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What's stopping me? And I thought about times like when my kids want to play with me on the beach and I'm feeling insecure about my body and I missed the opportunity to make a memory with them because I was stuck in my head. Or, you know, much more surface level, like you're out and the song comes on and you want to get up and be free and dance, but you're not the best dancer. And kind of just, we waste so many moments not doing what we want to do because we live in our heads and we worry about shit that doesn't matter. And so I called him and I said, "Hey, I want to write a song. I want it to be called Never Gonna Not Dance Again. Because if the world is ending and we're sliding sideways off our axis, then fuck it. I want to dance. I want to dance. Here's a shot. I want to dance." And I said, no pressure, but it has to be the best song we've ever written. Ever.
No pressure, but all those, all those 8,000 hit songs you wrote. Fuck them. They're out.
Yeah.
Dude,
It
no
needs to
one's
be
doing it.
way better.
I
But,
understand. I understand what you're saying. So when the pandemic robs you of your ability to do anything at all of a sudden we can't do anything. We're stuck at home with our families. If we're lucky, maybe not with our families. Maybe people are passing away. Maybe we're worried about our children. And then you start to think about all the things that you couldn't do, all the things that you wouldn't let yourself do because you were insecure. And all of a sudden those things become so silly when you're unable to do them.
so you make sourdough.
Do you think you've learned anything? Are you a changed person coming out of this time away?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think losing a parent is a suitcase that you will unpack for the rest of your life, especially, like I said, relationships are complicated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm learning every day, and I'm learning real solid lessons, and I'm also learning that there's so many batshit people in the world, just super psycho. And I'm learning that I do have a pretty sick sense of humor that I am able to fall back on most of the time. Yeah.
Why do you think you've been able to survive in an industry that doesn't always allow for that kind of survival?
Well, I kind of did things a little differently than most of the other artists out there. I realized very early that credit is not just given easily to young female pop stars. So I'm going to pound the pavement. I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to stay humble, and I'm going to pound the pavement all over the world. And I'm going to become the best performer I can be, because that's the part I love. That and writing songs, the creative process and performance is my favorite thing in the world. So I'm going to let everybody else sell perfume and be popular and be pretty. And I'm going to go work my ass off. And I did it. And I did it backwards. So I don't whereas a lot of people have to put an album out to sell tickets, I don't have to do that. I can just go on tour.
Yeah.
Because I've worked my ass off at being able to play stadiums, arenas, or clubs. And I've done it for 20 years, and I love it. I love it. I love all of those places, clubs, arenas, stadiums. So maybe it's because I did it backwards. Maybe it's because I'm relentless, and maybe it's because I have an open dialogue with the people that are listening to my music.
An open dialogue, how do you mean?
I mean, I'm being really, really vulnerable and open and honest, and I'm talking about I'm not trying to write like the next bop. I'm trying to save my soul.
Right. What I'm hearing there is that pop music and pop stardom can be so ephemeral that it can go away if you just rely on someone else if you just release a song and hope that things are going to work out and get your picture taken and hope that things are going to be fine and hopefully you can have another song. You realize early that you have to not prove yourself, but you have to have something else. You have to get out there and work as hard as you possibly can and get on the road and offer people the greatest live show they could ever experience, and sort of like a Springsteenian model here to be like, It doesn't matter who you are going to have a relationship with me. You are going to have a relationship with this music. So therefore I can stick around a little bit longer than everybody else. That's a powerful thing to learn early on,
Well, I had the best manager that ever did it. I mean, Roger Davies manages Cher, Joe Cocker, Sade, Tina Turner, Janet Jackson. I mean, these are some of the best live acts that have ever been. And he knows touring, and that was what we did.
So he impressed to you that hey, this thing can all go away, but if you do a great live show, they can't take this from you.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it too. You have to love it. It's too hard to do if you don't love it.
Do you find yourself giving that kind of advice to young performers now?
No, No, I try not to give advice. I hate people that give
What
advice.
do you mean you hate? What do you mean you hate people who give advice? Is like good. Like it's nice to get advice from people.
I mean, I've given advice on how to tour with babies because it's impossible, and I did it somehow. But I don't think that I came into the music business when it was a completely different business. I don't know what to tell anybody now. I don't know how this shit works. I'm already like over here doing this. I don't know how you do what you do. I'm not on TikTok. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm not on TikTok is the perfect distillation of my feelings these days as well. However, I don't know. I don't. Not that I don't buy it, but I kind of don't buy it because I feel like to last as long as you have, even just to say that to me, like, you know, tour and have something you can back up is something, you know?
Yeah. I guess I'm just not around people either. I'm not. I give my daughter a lot of advice and she's over it.
Yeah. But she doesn't listen to you?
She does. I mean, she half listens. I'm not sure if she's listening.
I want to go out on a song from the record that, like, we're going to get pushed to play the singles and all that stuff. But I wonder if there's a song on the record that's particularly meaningful to you that maybe isn't going to get the love of the other songs.
My goodness gracious, great balls of fire.
That in Canada counts as cursing, by the way.
It does?
Yeah.
Goodness gracious.
I'm just joking. It doesn't really.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, really? Oh gosh, damn it. I would say either Turbulence or Lost Cause,
Why?
because I don't think they'll be singles.
Yeah, but like, is there something about them that's particularly meaningful to you?
Oh, well, I love every song on the record. You have to play the whole record then.
All
Long
right.
way to go with the Lumineers. Lost Cause is just there's so many good lines in that song. And also it's a bitch. It's so good. I just love that song. I love that
What's it
song.
about?
It's just about how we can. I mean, when I learned it from my mom, but when I get into an argument, I'm really mean, and I say mean things, and I don't want to do that anymore. And Lost Cause is sort of like you can throw stones at me, you can hate me, you can tell me I'm a loser, but don't tell me I'm a lost cause. Don't tell me that I can't be better. Please don't tell me that there's just zero redemption in my humanity. And it's just beautiful. And Turbulence is really, I'm speaking to anxiety. I'm almost speaking to my child about anxiety. And my favorite line in that song is, when you say that you can't, I will watch you dance through this turbulence.
Lovely to meet you. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you too.